This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Nigel, and in today's video, I'm gonna give you 5 of my favorite filmmaking hacks. So as some of you know, I started filmmaking probably about 15 years ago. I started this channel, 12 years ago now. And in that span of time, I've learned a few things that have made my life making videos a lot easier. So I wanted to share 5 of them with you today, and hopefully they'll help you out as well. So the first tip is one that I've kind of glossed over in my videos a couple of times, but it's how to get your microphone closer to your subject to get better audio. Now, typically what's done is you would have a microphone boom stand and you would boom the mic right over you, and that's how you would get the mic closer to your subject to get better audio. But when I'm filming these YouTube videos, all these different stands can get really cumbersome, and they can take up a lot of space. And so what I've been doing recently is I've been using these little magic arms. Now these little magic arms are great because I have 2 of them kind of connected together with a spigot. And in this setup here, I'm just actually screwing it into the tripod arm of my tripod head. And that's how I'm getting these magic arms to be connected to my tripod, so I can just put my mic really nice and close to where I'm sitting, so I can get a lot better audio when I'm making these YouTube videos. Now, before, what I was doing is what most people were doing is they would take a microphone stand and they would just boom it above them. And even though that works, every single time I make a YouTube video, I'm just having to like boom the mic over me and move the mic stand and try to like maneuver all of these different stands just to shoot one YouTube video. And that can kind of create some friction and really slow you down. So having a simple magic arm set up like this just to get your microphone closer to you, I think is one of the best things that I've started doing, because it's just made my life so much easier. Now, these little magic arms are really cheap. Depending on which one you get, they're definitely under 20 bucks. I'll leave some links in the description. But yeah, I would definitely recommend having a couple of magic arms just to get your mic closer to your subject, so you don't have to keep using a boom stand every single time you're trying to mic your subject. So tip number 2, I can't really show you here because it's all about faking your dynamic range. So I'm gonna change my setup a little bit and you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so although my Panasonic GH3 is a great camera and it gives me a really nice image, the one thing that my camera struggles with is dynamic range. So as you can see right now, I do have a key light which is lighting me, and this window is actually providing light on this side of me, kind of, making me pop from the background a little bit more. But what you can also notice is that that window is completely blown out. And that's just because my camera can't capture the information in those kind of highlights because it just doesn't have that great a dynamic range. So let me show you something that you can do really easily to kind of make it look like your camera has better dynamic range. And where you would want to use this kind of a trick is maybe in like an interview scene. So don't move your camera at all, film your interview, and then after you're done, film about a minute or so of the exact same scene, but this time just expose it for the window. And then what you're gonna do in your video editor, I'm using Adobe Premiere, is we're gonna take that 1-minute clip of the footage that's exposed for the window. We're gonna drag it on top of our footage that was exposed for the subject. And what we're gonna do is just create a little mask over the window and then feather it out. And then as you can see, it looks like my camera has way better dynamic range than it actually does. And obviously this little trick only works if I don't move at all. If I moved in front of the mask, you're obviously gonna notice that I'm trying to trick you. But if your subject doesn't move at all and they don't move in front of the overexposed area, then you can make it look like your camera has way better dynamic range than it actually does. And I've actually used this a couple of times in some of my videos, and I think it actually works out really well. So this is just a little thing that you can do if you just are really annoyed with blown out highlights. All right, so before we get into the next 3 hacks, I do want to talk to you about today's sponsor, which is Skillshare. Now, Skillshare is an online learning community for creative and curious people like you and me. Now, Skillshare has thousands of inspiring classes to develop new skills and explore your creativity. So whether it be photography, video, marketing, productivity, Skillshare has so many different classes to help you take the next step in your creative journey. So one class that I took recently that I really enjoyed and I really needed some pointers with was personal branding with Kate Ahrens. And she kind of goes through her entire thought process on how she thinks about personal branding, and it's really kind of opened my eyes to how I should start looking at it, being a creative and presenting myself on social media. So that's one that I would definitely recommend. And Skillshare has just so many fun and unique classes that you can take. So yeah, I definitely recommend Skillshare. And what's really cool is that the first 1,000 people who click the link in the description below are gonna get a 2-month free trial of a premium Skillshare membership, which is just awesome. So yeah, definitely head down to the description below, be one of those first 1,000 people to click that link and get yourself 2 months of a free premium membership to Skillshare and go learn something. So hack number 3 is one that's kind of a scrappy DIY version of what some of the pros do. And it's gonna involve a few pieces of kit to make it work. You're gonna need a light stand. Any light stand will work, but preferably a more heavy duty one. You're gonna need an $8 super clamp. You're gonna need a curtain rod, which basically any curtain rod is gonna work. Just don't get one that's like too big in diameter. And curtain rods that work particularly well are the ones that can expand. And then you're gonna need a couple of heavy duty clamps that you can usually get at a dollar store. And last but not least, you're gonna need a moving blanket. And if you're wondering where I'm going with all this, well, you're gonna take your light stand and you're gonna put the super clamp on the top of it using one of the 3/8 or 1/4-20 threads on the super clamp. And that's gonna be a way that you can clamp your curtain rod onto the super clamp. And then you're gonna take the moving blanket and drape it over the curtain rod and then use those 2 heavy duty clamps to hold the moving blanket in place. And what you just did is kind of created a DIY movable sound panel. And I'm actually using one right now to help dampen the sound a little bit in my room because my little YouTube studio is definitely kind of echoey. And so what these sound panels can do is you can move them around, you can help alleviate some of that echo. So I'm actually using one right now, and what they can also do is if you have them close enough to your subject, they can also create some negative fill, which is basically just cutting off the reflections from the wall. So that's just a really simple way to create a movable like sound panel so you can get a little bit crispier sound when you're filming in places that have a lot of reverb and echo. So tip number 4 is one that I actually use a lot on my YouTube channel, and as you all know, I film with a Panasonic GH3, which is kind of a dated camera. It doesn't have really good autofocus and it doesn't have image stabilization. And so when I'm trying to get some product shots that are a little bit less vanilla, I guess, if I want to try to like spice them up a little bit, what I always try to do is do like those really nice slow motion push in, and then, you know, they kind of gradually come into focus. Now, it would be a lot easier to do a shot like that if my camera was stabilized and I had a really good autofocus lens, so it would just kind of instantly focus on what I was trying to push in on. But the problem is that my camera doesn't have any of those features, and so I switch my camera into 60p, and what I do is I start off with my product in focus and then slowly just pull my camera out, shooting at 60 frames per second. And then what I do is I slow that down in Premiere and then I reverse it. And what that actually does is it makes it look like I'm slowly pushing in to having a nice sharp focus on my product or whatever I'm trying to get focus on. That's just a really easy way to kind of make it look like you're shooting with a camera that has a lot better capabilities than it actually does. And typically shooting in 60p and then slowing that down kind of smooths out any shakiness that I might have in my hands. But if I really do need to like make it look even smoother, I'll just throw on some warp stabilization onto that clip as well, just to give it that extra little push to make it look a lot better than it used to. So tip number 5 is, so you're gonna take all those same pieces that we just used for that movable sound panel, and what we're gonna do is instead of draping a moving blanket on top of the curtain rod, we're gonna get a $5 shower curtain. We're gonna drape that over the curtain rod instead, use those same clamps, and now basically what we have is a really nice big piece of diffusion. The reason why you would want to do this is if you were wanting to get a really nice big light source. So you may remember the shower curtain technique that I did in this video, but I kind of just thumbtacked that to my ceiling, and although that worked, it's not a very practical way to set up a shower curtain. So this is a lot easier of a way to get a movable big piece of diffusion, and a lot of the times this can be a lot better and more pleasing of a light if you just shoot your light into that big shower curtain than even using a softbox or an umbrella like I'm using right now. That's one thing you'll see in like the behind the scenes photos and videos of a lot of movie sets is they'll be using very big pieces of diffusion, and that's what's going to get you the nice soft light. So this technique of using a shower curtain as a diffuser is going to give you a lot more of a soft, flattering light on your subject. So this is a technique that I've used a few times on different shoots, and it's really, really helpful if you don't have a softbox, but you still want to get a really nice soft light. You can just keep a shower curtain in your bag and just pull it out, put it on a light stand, and boom, you got yourself a nice big piece of diffusion. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed those 5 filmmaking hacks. If you did, it would be really cool if you hit the like button, and be sure to subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my content. Once again, the first 1,000 people to click that link in the description are gonna get 2 months of a free premium Skillshare membership. So again, try to be one of the first 1,000 people to click that because you don't wanna miss out. Thanks again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, and I will see you all next time. Later.